Oh, you'll be fine. All
Where's
right,
the
guys,
camera?
welcome back. Black Magic TV, and we're on two-dayer here. Just finished one last night, and now we got another show tonight. I've never done this before, but tonight we have a local legend, I would say. She would not say that, but a lot of people would. A performer of many ilks, a stand-up comedian. You used to do the Dr. Sketchies back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
You did burlesque.
Mm-hmm.
You've worked in the bartending industry in town.
I did.
You've been you're a Renaissance woman,
I am.
Miss Susanna Lee. Do you still go by?
Mm-mm.
You don't go by your alias anymore.
Lucky Deluxe.
Lucky
no.
Deluxe.
Mm-mm. No,
That was
not
the
for a while.
rockabilly
No.
era
It was.
of the city. You were actually like sort of. You were very early to that whole scene in this town, I think. Like, I don't, for like that vintage, like in that time frame that you were doing that stuff is when like rockabilly exploded in Kansas City, like the whole culture of it.
But there was always a subculture,
Right.
And
Was burlesque always like that? Like,
no.
was it always like very like, because it was like, it's, now I think people think of burlesque and it's like very associated with like rockabilly, right? Like in like that sort of like.
I don't know if it's. I really don't know what it's associated with anymore. I think that like before I was doing it, it was more associated, at least in Kansas City, with like the like kind of riot girl type of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like that. Yeah.
I can't think
the
of the
bikini
word.
kill cult era.
Yeah.
Right. It was like the punk rock. It's like punk chicks being able to say "fuck you" to people.
Yeah.
And like, I'll do this.
Yeah. It was about the politics of it.
Right.
And then it sort of started to kind of morph. And when I was starting and when I did it is kind of when we started doing shows that were like more. The burlesque was the show. It wasn't like what they would put on the stage between bands,
Right.
Which is nothing. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm just we developed like more full shows and tried to kind of I guess do more of what they used to do. I don't know. I mean, that was a long time ago, and I feel like it really mattered to me at the time.
Right. Well,
And
of course
then,
it did. 'Cause
yeah.
it was your thing to do. But
Yeah.
I know a lot of women that have been in that scene over the years, and they do it for a while and they enjoy it, and then
Mhm.
they, you find a new way to express yourself through art. Like, I think that's just a common art thing. Like I knew most of them through music, right? From playing in a band.
Yeah.
Because there was always like a thing where it got to a point where it wasn't bands having a burlesque troupe in between. It was burlesque troops having a band come and play.
Yeah.
Like after they were
Yes.
done as a way to like draw in more people.
Yeah.
And that's what we used to do. We would.
What band were you in?
It was called the Savage Seven.
Oh.
It was like.
What years was that?
God, I don't even know exactly. It would have been like 10 years ago, and then a little before and a little after 10 years. Because I've been sober like 9 years. So
I was in LA from.
I think you might have been in LA during that time.
I got there on January 1st of 2011. 1/1 of 1/1. That was absolutely intentional.
Yeah.
And I came back on September. I got back September 18th of 2016.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you got back on September 11th, and it was also intentional.
Yeah.
I came back on 9/11 intentionally. Yeah. What a day to fly, right?
Yeah.
Like,
that's my dad's birthday, or was my dad's birthday.
9/11 was?
Yep.
Oh, man, what a ruin. I was looking up when you got here. I was like laying on the floor, stretching out, and I was just like, was I born on Black Friday? Because my birthday's this week.
Uh
And
huh.
I was like, oh, I was born on Black Friday.
Oh.
And I had this moment of clarity where I was like, that explains it all. Like, I think that explains everything about me. It was that I was born on Black Friday. I miss Black Friday. Like real Black Friday. Like, you remember back in the day when you used to have to get the newspaper
Oh
on like
yeah.
Wednesday?
Yep.
Wednesday, like
They'd
it
put out
started
all
on
those like
Sunday.
ads.
Like, remember just buying the paper to get the ads every week?
Yeah. Well, I would buy it for the funnies.
Oh, I bought it
But
for the ads. I
also,
never read the paper when I back then.
oh,
I didn't. I could care less about what was going on in the
I
world.
love the funnies, but also, yeah, those ads,
Yeah,
anything that was like bright, you
yeah.
know.
I needed to see what was on sale,
Yep.
what I could consume that week.
Yes.
But
And yeah, the
also
Wednesday before Thanksgiving was always when they'd put out
the
those.
Black Friday
Yep.
thing to get everybody juiced up to be like, all right, are you ready to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that weird that at one time it was like we'll open at 9 on Friday.
Yeah.
Then it was like we're gonna open at 6 a.m. on
Then it
Friday.
was 4.
Then it was
Then
4.
it was fucking midnight.
Then it was midnight. I remember going to Walmart at midnight and just watching people punch each other in the face for televisions.
Yeah.
And all I could think about was like, God, I love every second of this. Like, there's nothing better than people at Walmart just fist fighting over a cheap television. Or like Tickle Me Elmos. Like,
Oh yeah.
I don't even think we have things like that anymore because we don't. Like, well, nobody. Like, I was at the computer store the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, it's really slow, but we don't understand why because we've had our Black Friday sale going on for 2 weeks now, and it's not." He's like, "I think people think that we're gonna do something crazy on Friday, but we're not going to. Like, this is it. Fucking Black Friday, man."
Yeah. They're starting earlier and earlier, and the sales go longer and longer. It's just like
Yeah,
the consumerism, like the greed has just destroyed even I mean,
the fun part of it,
right, right.
the gladiator.
That like get up super early when it's really fucking cold and get in the fucking van with your mom and go, and you're going to sit in the car with the heater until the line gets too long, and then you're going to go get in that line. And now it's just like, well, just go online.
Yeah, you can
order what you
save one online, pick it up in the store on Friday if you want. It's like, dude, you've taken all the gladiatorness out of it.
Yeah. All the poetry out of Black Friday. That's a shame.
That's what the old Republicans I know would call this is the pussification of America. It's like, okay, man. But I do miss like even sales in general. Like it's just not the same. I'm still a big brick and mortar guy. Like I like like I could easily bought all my computer stuff off the internet, but I like going to a place and speaking to like. But I also like I ain't going to I go to Walmart, right? But like when I say I like to go to a store, I want to go somewhere that has a salesperson that makes their money partially by selling me things.
Oh sure, yeah.
So that I can talk to them and figure out what is the best. And like the guys at the computer store, like I got a couple dudes up there. This dude Dominic, he hooks me up all the time. He gets me right, and that's what I like. I like going to a place and knowing, oh, I can go here. It doesn't matter if I need a cable or if I have a question if I have a problem I can't figure out. I just go in there and ask them, and it's like there's like a bajillion nerds just waiting to ask your question. And I don't say that as a negative comment. I like people that are nerds or dorks about anything. Because they have all the knowledge.
Oh, nerd's not an insult anymore.
Yeah, I went there one day and ran into this kid that was like this musician I know. And he's like, I'm having this problem and I need this thing. Help me. I'm like, dude, you don't need my help. You're in a store. Like, there's 50 dorks walking around here just waiting for you to ask them a question. So I had to walk him over to a salesman and he figured out what he needed. But I love it. I love salesmen. Car salesman. They're like the dirt bag of salesmen, though. Used car salesman. I got a buddy that's a used car salesman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't really sell cars. Well, he does, but they're just like, he's like, yeah, you want the fucking car or not, man? I don't have all day to talk to you about it. It's just so crazy to watch him sell a car. But he sells a bunch of cars, with the way he does it.
The last time I bought a car, well, no, I don't even want to, that's kind of boring. What were you going to say?
No, you tell me. What about the last time? What kind of car did you buy?
I bought a Buick Encore.
Oh,
like
nice.
a 2018 Buick Encore.
Did the guy sell you hard on it, or was he
Mm-mm.
just like,
I knew what I wanted and I found it. Um, I can't remember where I found it, but it was at a dealership, but I can't remember like what site or whatever. But I found like a great deal on exactly the one I wanted. And so I just went and I bought it. They wouldn't let me, I paid for it outright and they
yeah?
wouldn't let me put it on a card. I had to go find like a branch of my bank and get them a check.
Oh yeah, there's like weird
Why?
laws when it comes to cars
Yeah.
that they have to take a check because it has to be a specific paper trail. Because my buddy
Uh,
does that. Like he takes deposits. He either
mm-hmm.
takes they take cash or they'll take a check. But a bigger car lot won't even take check
Cash.
or a cash. It has
Yeah.
to be a check.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they want to like wait. And luckily now they can like clear a check immediately
Mm-hmm.
because back in the day you used to take them to check and they'd be like, all right, well come back in like 4 days and you can have your car. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, car
I don't
lots. They're
have checks.
wild.
I had to like go get a cashier's check and
Yeah, I
you
had to
know.
get a check for something, and I just looked at the guys like, "Man, you're gonna cost me a lot of money to go get this check." And they're like, "What?" I was like, "Well, my time is valuable, you know. Like everyone's is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're asking me to do a crazy, like old world thing right now that
Yeah.
makes absolutely no sense."
Why can't you just like here's my card? It's a debit card. It's not even like I'm buying it on credit. Like it's
Right.
the same as a check,
It's same
except
reason.
easier
I think
for
it's the
everyone.
same thing. Like it's some weird law because, like
Mm-hmm.
you can't buy lottery tickets with a credit card. You have to pay cash for the
Oh,
lottery.
really?
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
yeah, because otherwise people will just be racking up credit cards with
Oh,
lotto
sure. Yeah, with
tickets
credit
trying to
cards, sure.
win, and then be like, "All right, I'm filing bankruptcy," and then they just get another credit card and do it again. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's something I would have done back in the day. I used to always there used to be so many great scams you could pull on your bank with like depositing $50 and then like withdrawing the money that night after the bank closed, but then going and spending a bunch of money on your debit card, and then it would just like they would pay for it, and you'd be like, "Yeah, well, I'll get you back soon." Well, the life of a poor man, just scamming. Um, are you from? Were you born in?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Kansas City. I
Okay,
was born like the first 9 years we lived in Waldo,
okay,
and then we moved out to Overland Park,
yeah.
and that was just that was not great.
It's probably weird.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it built character. Uh,
Yeah. Well, it's just probably. I guess even more so back then. Probably a pretty big cultural difference between Waldo and Overland
Huge.
Park.
Yeah, yeah,
Because back then, I mean, that would have been considered like a very high end part of town, Overland Park. It was like really
yeah,
expensive to live there at the time.
yeah,
And Waldo has always been sort of like a working class, like a lot
yeah.
of Irish
It was
people out
it
there.
was like very diverse, and then Overland Park there was like one black family in like a mile radius,
Right.
and it was God, it was so fucking weird. It was like going from, you know, being a 9-year-old and having that be a kid to like some weird culture where 9 is too old to play with dolls and 9 is like very adult and very uh like there was kids dating and I don't know. It was just it was kind of when
Yeah.
fun died.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Did you go to high school out there in Overland Park?
Mhm.
Wild.
Yeah. I went to this is like I got to be fidgety. I'm real sorry.
You're fine.
Um I went Oh, there we go. I went to Shawnee Mission South.
That's a weird chair, and I know
It
that
is.
because my chair is super uncomfortable. I made it,
Uh-huh.
but I have these two chairs that are out of like an old '70s van,
Yeah.
and my buddy they're really nice, but the upholstery does not match my vibe at all. It's like
Mhm.
grayish blue. So a buddy of mine is an upholsterer, and he's gonna redo them here in the next few weeks. I'm gonna make bases so that it's like two matching chairs because that chair is not the. It's weird because you're like it like has a weird lean to it for a fixed chair.
It does. This is a chair just like my great grandma had when I was a little kid. And it was not like the chair you wanted to sit in. But I was telling you before we started like that I'm just like fucking uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
I had like two different things that I was gonna wear, and then then at the last minute I put this on because I feel like this is like huge and I can hide in it. Now I'm like, it's gonna look terrible because it's just gonna look like a big black blob. Um,
No, I wore all black as well, so we're
yeah,
just
okay.
we're very drama
We
we're
are.
drama club today.
Oh, good. I'm drama
Hold
club
on,
every
let me
day.
check this camera. Keep talking.
Yeah. Um.
I just wanted to make sure. I've had a litany of technical difficulties lately,
Oh, okay.
which is what's hard because like that's what we were talking about before. Is this whole thing is like now it's like I have shit everywhere and screens over here and like
Mhm.
computer mouse over here so I can control everything because it's hard to like. I need a guy. Like now I know why everybody else has a guy. I need
Yeah.
a guy
You
to
gotta
sit
get a
in
guy.
the other room
Yep.
to like do the deal. The next step is to get a guy, and then I can do it to where like these are just live. Like I can do it live.
Can't you just do that anyway?
I can, but then I need like, but you have to have the headphones so you know because there can go, things can go haywire quickly whilst going live.
Yeah.
And you need a guy with the button for just in case, like scenarios last night when somebody's being, you
Oh,
gotta hit the delay,
right,
and then you
right.
gotta have the button that you hit in case somebody gets
Yeah.
too wild.
Mhm.
Sometimes I know a lot of wild boys, so you get a wild
I have
boy
no
in the hot
doubt.
seat, and you never know. Get Aaron over there, you no telling what he's liable to say.
Yeah. Yeah, having that conversation with you, I did not expect that from you because I don't know why I expect that Aaron knows a lot of like dirt bags. Um but it's like never like that.
Oh yeah, well no,
You
I mean
know?
if Aaron seems sus, like
Mhm.
he's definitely seems sus,
He
but I think
seems but
he's
he's
the most
not.
unsus person in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
He's always like texting me like because I'm like almost 10 years older than Aaron,
Mhm.
and I he's like texting me like 6 a.m. like we were talking about. It's 6
Yeah.
a.m. This stand-up comedians messaging me, and I'm going, dude, shouldn't you be sleeping?
Yeah.
But he's like messaging me bands. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I know that band. I was like, they're from here. He's like, wait, what? This band's from here? I'm like, here's the other bands those guys are all in. And he's like, oh
Oh.
my God, I had no idea. It's like, dude, those are just dudes I know if you want to meet them. And he's like, really? It's like, yeah, man. That easy. I'm more of a dirtbag than Aaron is, which is what's crazy.
I don't know if you are.
Well, I mean, in the past,
it seems like
in
in
my
the
head, I'm
past.
still a
Oh,
dirt bag, but
I didn't know. Is
I'm
that
not. I'm slobber
choked
all
up
over
on
it. I'm
it?
not talking to that one. That's for the next person to worry about. they can get the COVID or whatever it is.
It's just the
going
lip
around.
gloss. It's just
Yeah, a little lip gloss.
yeah.
That never hurt
It's
anybody.
fine.
The guy that was in there last night's probably worn lipstick more times than you have. So
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't know. Josh is pretty sus.
Mm.
He does some. He's a wild boy.
Do I not come off as sus?
A what? A sus?
Yeah.
Nah,
That's so fucking weird.
not really. You come off as just a very like I know, but I know sus. Like I know sus. So like
Okay.
you are an artist. Artists perceive themselves as being sus. Like that's just the thing that comes with artists.
But I used to do a lot of
you've
illegal
done
shit.
some sussy things in the
I've
past.
done a lot. I've spent like the majority of my adult life like doing sus things.
Yeah.
Doing like real
but
fucking
your
sus
sussy things are not really sussy things. They're societies. They're
right.
They're sus
There are
in
things that I
society
can.
standards.
Yes.
But what I'm talking about sussy things is I would like do crystal meth and then go rob people. That's like
Well, I'm talking about I used to help this guy rob big box stores.
oh yeah.
And then that got me into prostitution. That got me into not full prostitution. I would feel bad claiming that as like my entry into it because it wasn't, but that was
Escort?
just
Would you
no,
consider
that
it?
was just like having sex for money. Just like the guy that I was helping he called it racking.
Yeah.
And so the guy that I was helping do that, he was the first guy that I fucked for money. And so he was just sort of like my entry into just realizing that that's something that I had like,
It's like a power you held.
right. Like I'm able to do that. I'm able to compartmentalize, you know,
Right.
or I was at the time. Things have so much different.
Oh
But
yeah, right, because you're
you
not a
know,
sussy anymore.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because
fucking horrible. It's where I'm comfortable. I'm not comfortable
it
with this
is
like
weird.
legitimate life. It's fucking like I have an office now,
Yeah,
and I used to like fuck for a living. You
yeah,
know, it's so fucking weird. I work in e-commerce, and I used to work in dick, and it's
yeah.
just
It's like a whole different. Yeah. Well, I
it's
used to.
so
I didn't. I was
uncomfortable.
like. I was like a I was like a like a distributor, like a privateering distributor. Like,
Yeah.
Pepsi like does their own distribution, but then there's like that one family that has like a distribution company, a beverage company or whatever. I was like that guy. I just knew everybody, and whenever anybody needed anything, they called me, and I was a facilitator. But then on top of that, I also would like sometimes the facilitating required me to take the product I needed from someone that was their career path. So sometimes I had to go be a wild boy. Sometimes you have to beat up your friends because they owe you money. Like it was, there's a lot of things, and it's very unexciting, and it can be unexciting. And I realized at a certain point, I started feeling like, was I addicted to drugs or was I addicted to like the feeling I got when I was doing wild boy things? And then it was like, then it was
Right.
riding motorcycles. Riding
Mm.
motorcycles is the only thing I've ever done outside of like committing a crime, like a real crime, like a
Yeah.
heist job or whatever. That's the only thing that comes close to that feeling. It's like the same fear, the same feeling of fear you get.
Yeah.
Like it's like this could go bad at any moment, but it just it feels so good because of
Yeah.
that. But yeah, no, Aaron's not sussy at all.
No.
He's like printing art. He's like on his Van Gogh era.
Yeah.
And he's
Mhm.
also like every time I send him to like this coffee shop that I go to, and my daughter works there one day a week, and I do some events there at the Java Garage. And Mitch and Heather are awesome people,
Uh-huh.
and they're very Christian, but not in like a militant like I'm going to tell you what to do sense. They're
Mhm.
very open minded. But I sent Aaron down there to this comedy thing they were doing, and all I could think of was like, dear God, like Aaron and I are very similar, and I think that you're either gonna really like us or you're gonna fucking hate us, and there's no in between. Like I think there's no in between with this. Like you either like us or you don't. But they ended up liking Aaron, luckily, so that worked out pretty good. He's been everywhere I go. He's there now and just has his art
Well, he's a
everywhere you
good
go.
person.
Yeah,
He's a good person, and he's being really like authentic to who he is and how he feels, and I fucking love that about him. And I think that like helps people love him.
yeah,
And that's why people like super Christians that you wouldn't maybe necessarily expect to warm up to Aaron, it's just automatic. But I think that that's true of like anyone, when you can connect to and just like really be who you are without having
right,
to stop and like think about it, when you can just like naturally move through your life. Then I think that it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to not like people like that.
right.
Even if you're different, like philosophically or politically or like whatever.
Oh, there's
I
so
think
many
that,
things that
yeah.
Aaron says and believes in that I sometimes like. I'm just like, that's insane, dude. Like that's a crazy thought. But it doesn't. But I don't. I really don't enjoy. I try not to surround myself with people that are just like me
Yeah.
because that never seemed like my whole life. I've been like that. It doesn't seem any fun.
Mm.
To never have like people that are just like you, even if they think you're wrong, they won't challenge your ideas,
Mm-hmm.
even if there's some idea that they don't believe in, right? Like they'll let it slide or just let it. And I don't want that. I want someone that will like be like, you sure about that? Like sometimes your friends have to be like, you sure about that?
Yeah.
You know. And I that's why I like Aaron because I think, I mean, he says wild shit, but I think he's a good joke writer. I think he's
He's
very
a
good at
great
that.
joke writer.
He has a
Mm-hmm.
he has a great way of like displaying a very extremist opinion on certain subjects
Uh-huh.
without it coming off as an extremist opinion. And I think that lets you know that that's a good joke. Like he's not like anyone that can listen to his jokes. I think can, even if they're about if like I think a cop would hear that cop joke that he has and
Yeah.
laugh about it.
Yeah.
He actually gave me one of those paintings of the donut pig.
Oh,
And
really?
I'm gonna wrap it up and give it to one of the guys at the police athletic league that I help out at. Jay will think it's funny, but uh, and you guys, Aaron and you have a show that you're doing that you
Yep.
started at the
At the ship once a month called Cult KC, and yeah, that's what
I
it
was
is.
luckily they asked me to be on the last version of it
Yeah.
episode performance, the live show.
It was the third one we'd done, and it was the second one that I'd been there for. I got sick like right before the first one started, and Evan had to like step in and host for me. But it's taken like the first three for me to kind of figure out what I really want to do with it.
Yeah.
And so I want you to come back on when it's a little more fleshed out. Like I think the December 27th one will be good. We're going to do more segments. I need to bring in more like elements that make it fun for me. Cuz I'm kind of in this place where I'm only interested in giving my energy, my creative energy to stuff that is fun. Because for a really really long time I think that performing in shows and like all that like comedy and really whatever has been like my way of making a living.
Yeah.
Or at least what I considered my way of making a living, even though for years there was like more money coming in from other stuff. But I think that like taking the pressure of that out of it and forcing it to be fun, not forcing it to be fun, but at least caring about that element of having fun is better for me.
Yeah.
You know.
And I had fun. I had a great time. I thought it was like I told Aaron, he came up to me right before it started. He's like, you're going on which person you are in line. I was like, yeah, and I just looked at him. I was like, second to last, Aaron. And he just looked at me, started smiling. I was like, you put the single dad with a day job second to last, and he just started laughing. I was like,
oh, I did that.
I know
I
you
didn't
did.
think
I know.
about that.
I was just joking with him.
Yeah.
I was like, it seems like you guys are pulling a sick joke on me, Aaron, because I'm the only person on the panel with a day job, I think. And he's like, yeah, probably. Deal with it. It was fun. I had fun. It was a cool thing. It was a nice.
Yeah. Well, I put you second to last because like our conversation just like blew my fucking mind. The things that you said, I mean, they've still like kind of stuck with me, and it sort of changed how I was looking at the show.
Yeah.
And how I was approaching like doing the interviews and stuff. And I mean, it kind of fucked me up for that show. But
well, I hope in a good way.
now, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the night of the show, I was really like in my head about it because I went from like trying to do this and trying to do the interviews by like really preparing and meeting with like the guests and stuff before so that I could sort of pre-interview so that things would flow smoothly. And then I did an interview project like a long time ago. Well, I guess it was like 10 years ago. And then 7 years ago. And I didn't do that. I just sort of like researched the person that I was going to be interviewing. And I just felt like it would be better if I knew more about them, if I'd done more preparation. And then it just kind of wasn't fun. And the two shows I did do, when I did do that, I just like I hated it and I sort of abandoned it like mid-show. And this last one, I abandoned it like before the show.
Right.
Like before the show, it was like a couple hours before the show. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do the. I'm not gonna do the stuff that I was gonna do. What I'm gonna do is just like flow with it and just see like how it rolls. And it did not. I don't feel like, for me anyway, I do not feel like it flowed well. But I think that's because I was in a real like sort of. I was still sort of like removed from it and observing it and trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and
I don't know if that makes sense.
You're at number 3, right? So
Yeah.
like, and like I told you that night that we met. Like I even told you I had that thought beforehand of like, of all people, I'm probably the last person you need to have a pre-interview with. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely. And
But-
I really wish I would have just like I wish you could have just said, I don't know, that conversation was great. You said a lot of things that I related to, and
Well, all these
That's
people,
why I put you
anybody that's
second to
watching this
last.
undoubtedly has heard me talk about most
Right.
of those things. But what it comes down to is, like I told you, it's no different than being in a like recovery room in like a hall somewhere. It's just like where you come from, what happened, how it's going now. Like
Yeah.
if you look at those 3 basic principles, and that doesn't mean like, if you're, we could break down farther, like later I'll talk to you about that, but it doesn't have to be specifically about someone's whole life. It can be about a specific thing that you can pinpoint. Like,
Yeah.
hey, what got you, like if I'm talking to a musician and I
Mhm.
have that short span, like you were talking about wanting to have, my thing would be like, ooh, what got you into playing music? Okay. And, what's, then you fill in the middle zone with like, okay, so tell me about your band, and then, oh, what's this new thing that you have out now? And then bada bing, bada boom, because it's always like that guy, the artist guy was great. The guy, Harold, was it Harold?
Oh, Harold Smith.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that guy was awesome.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed, he was like, of the people, there was like several people that were like, it helps if somebody is like already isn't afraid to talk in front of a crowd.
Mhm.
And HB that went on right before me, I
Yeah.
thought she was great. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed her. I ended up giving her a ride around the building to her car.
Oh, good.
And I want to have her on here.
Mhm.
But she, again, another person reminded me somewhat of like Aaron, in the sense that like, oh, even though you might hold like something I perceive as a wild idea, I still like, I enjoy your opinion on it, because you're not like, I'm gonna fucking tell you how it is.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. It was a good time. That video Evan made was hilarious.
Yeah.
I've seen Evan a couple times now, and just to watch him like uncomfortably say something and then be like, he like does. I was like, is this real or is this like a part of your shtick where he does this like uncomfortable? Okay, well I guess that's not funny, and then he starts rambling on about the same thing. I'm like, oh, this is hilarious, man.
Evan's really funny. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like Evan.
but I saw him. He does that show Hot Waffles.
Yep.
And I saw Aaron invited me to that, so I could. And he performed on it, and it was really fun to see. That was cool. But it's great. It's been real weird, and like the best guests you're gonna find, right, are the
Mhm.
ones that like the fucking art gallery guy.
Rob.
Oh my god,
Mm-hmm.
that guy
There's
was great.
so fucking much that we didn't even get to. Like Rob and his husband were the first legal same-sex marriage in Kansas City, I think.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I intended to like talk about that, and but I don't know. It's hard for me to focus, and it was hard for me. See, that's why I think I should have prepared.
Well, not just
I should have
like,
done
and
the-
you don't need
like-
to prepare full deep, but you could have
Yeah.
like,
I
I
should have
think
had,
it's
like,
good
the
if you had
points,
like
but I
a few talking points
Yeah.
that you want to hit,
Yeah.
and then you'll get there naturally. And and I don't think you need to talk to the people beforehand. To
No, I'm
figure
not
those
going
out,
to.
because I think that might be, if you talk too much beforehand,
Yes.
then it's like it's weird, because I've had to do it where like I've done this, I've been
Yeah.
doing this a year now, right?
Uh-huh.
And like it's gotten to a point where like I'm okay with like rehaving a conversation with someone, or
Yeah.
like, but sometimes like I've found that like
I think
people
that
I'm really close to, like it's hard. So it's hard to get some of them to talk because they're like in their brain they're going, dude, you already know all this.
yeah.
And it's like, well, it's not. They don't. It's them. It's they. It's them out there. They don't know all this, and that's why I'm talking to you because I think this is interesting about you. You know. But I think you're doing it great. I think. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have excellent unbiased production notes for you
Oh, yeah.
that I think would help you
Production notes. What could you possibly have to note about our production
About-
quality? I used my laptop for the
no, not
live
just
stream.
quality,
I just
in
like set it on
general,
the
things that I
bar.
think
I'm just kidding. I
like
know.
weird things
It's
that
like-
people don't think about that I think would make it easy for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Just off of what I have
Yeah.
things that I've already worked through
Yeah.
that I saw happen that night that
Yeah.
in my head I went, oh, I know how to fix this right
Yeah.
now. Like I know this is what's going on and this is how you fix this problem, you know?
I
It's
would
just
love
like-
those notes. I would love those notes.
Yeah, and
So-
up until the point of like I have a webcam that I would even bring it and like say, hey, let's try this, and then that way, if it works better, then that can be like, okay, you guys, like now, I think also you should take it's hey, and I'll give all the credit to you guys. Because I never intended on. I thought it was ridiculous when he told me about the one guy who like wouldn't perform a certain way because of the money. I thought it was great that you paid me. You know that I made. You gave everyone that was on the show money,
Yep.
and that's awesome. I also think what is just as cool is just. Everybody's going to be down for doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying because I get the world you guys coming because it's comedy, right? But I think I would just as easily been down with knowing like, oh, this money that was made that night, they're going to reinvest it into this thing, and then it's only going to make it. I mean, I know a figure in my head that we could like, you could have this bitch looking like Conan Late Night with Conan O'Brien because you're already ahead so far.
Mhm.
Like on easy things, like that sound dude is so down with helping you, which
Eric's
is like so
awesome.
cool.
Eric is great.
Like and like,
Yeah.
see, you can go like for your
I love
live.
it. Eric is excited about the show, and he like tells
Yeah.
me, and that makes me feel good.
Because like when you were talking about how to move to the bigger side, you had to have a certain amount of people
Yeah.
show up for it,
Mhm.
and I think it's easily obtainable.
I think so too.
And once you go over there, it only makes it easier.
The sightlines are so much better.
Right.
The sightlines are I like the sightlines. I don't know. I get real stuck on things that I think are important. I think sightlines for comedy, for anything where a focus is kind of like required, like visual and just sort of like mental focus, I think that sightlines are important.
Right. No, for sure.
all.
And it's
But I'm just happy to
decent.
be at the ship, like at all.
And it was great, like
Yeah.
having the chairs up front. I thought it was awesome. Like that, like when you guys went to play that game, and like all I could think, I didn't, and you asked for like audience interactions, and all I was just gonna, I was like, don't say anything because I wasn't gonna ask any questions. I was just gonna keep asking about JFK and like burn all the questions because Eric has just been talking about JFK. It's like. But that was great, and like I think that's cool to like you're building characters for the thing, and like all those people want to be a part of it. They love like
Yeah.
It's cool that all of you love doing that stuff.
Well,
you know?
I'm bringing in more people to do segments, like recurring segments, and I think what I'm going to do with that is everyone that's doing a segment is going to do a segment monthly. And if they're not going to do it live on the show, then I still want it like video. Still want the video of it so that I can put that on the YouTube channel. And I think that the segments that all the people that I've talked to that are going to do segments, they're good segments. They're interesting, and they're pretty like aligned with the people doing them. Like I think everyone's like kind of on track with what they want to do. And so I'm hoping that those things can develop into something significant for the people doing the segments, and then they can like take those and kind of branch them off and grow those things themselves. That's all.
Yeah, the game thing, like having like a game
Yeah.
because there's a live audience,
Mm-hmm.
is great. You had Evan go up pre to like
Warm up comic.
be a
There's
warm
always
up
like a
comic,
warm up
which was
before like
awesome. Evan is like the
shows.
announcer.
Yeah.
Like like
Mm-hmm.
and this is all in my notes. We'll talk about
Okay.
that after
All
the
right.
fact. But I have all these like there. I have yes, it was great. I think you have the potential to make something really really awesome with
I
everyone.
hope so.
If you because you got everybody on board and
Mhm.
everybody's already putting
Yeah.
forth effort and just with a little drive, little more. Like
Yeah.
if everybody turn it up to from 6 to a 7, and then once you get to the 7, it's gonna be like after the next one you're gonna go, oh man, and
Yeah.
then you're gonna crank it up to where like it's gonna be a thing that like you won't have to worry about finding guests because the best people will be people that like somebody is like, oh, you should talk. Like that's how I found Aaron was from John
Mhm.
Caesar. John messaged me and like put us in a group text. Was like, you guys should know each other.
Mhm.
Aaron should be on your show. And like, I have 100% faith in any person that John tells me you should talk to this person. I will just, it'll be an instant, hey, when do you want to do it? You know?
Yeah.
Because I like finding out about people and like, I'm very interested in like, yeah, where do you come from? Like, what made you? What sort of like, what sort of weird, because it's like it's like a weird math equation. Like Larry met Susan and then they had Susanna, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Yeah. It's like, well, what were they like? Where did what, and back to that, I guess, where did you find comedy in high school or was
No.
that much later?
I always loved it from the time I was like probably I don't know, like 10, 11, 12.
Like
And
as a spectator?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't like I don't know, I just didn't really think about it being something that was accessible to do. I just didn't think people did it. I don't know. I just never really thought about stuff like that. It was people in the TV.
Right.
And then when I was God, I was 18. I think I was 18. I started working at Stanford's when they had one at 91st and Metcalf.
Yep.
And I was 19. I was working in the box office and bar backing and doing like office during the day, all that kind of shit. And then I started meeting comics and and I learned about open mics. And then when that one closed, I started working at the one in Westport and I would bar back underage. I would bar back on the open mic nights and watch him. And I would always tell the guy that was hosting it, his name was Dave Free. I would always be like, I'll go up. And he's like, okay, you want to go up next week? And I'd be like, maybe, yeah. And then the next week he'd come and be like, you gonna go up tonight? I'd be like, no, but next week. And so then it was like right before Thanksgiving, and we had that exchange again, and he was like, well, just be ready because I'm going to put you up. And I was supposed to have the night off. I like really, really over prepared. I mean, wrote like 3 minutes was what you got. And I wrote 3 jokes out and they were like word for word. And I just memorized them the whole weekend. We went to St. Louis for Thanksgiving and my sister and I were sharing a hotel room and I made her listen to me recite like so many times.
Yeah.
Ooh. And then the day of it came, it was like Monday, and I wasn't supposed to have to work. I wasn't supposed to have to bar back, but the other bar back, Carter, got arrested on his way to work. So
Sick, as one does.
Yeah.
As a bar back does.
Yeah. And so then I had to, and I was very nervous, and I get nervous a lot. And always have. And I was very nervous. And so the bartender, his name was Sean, he kept like sliding me shots of Jaeger. Because back when I was like young, I could just drink anything and I just would. and any amount of it. And so he was just like, Jaeger, Jaeger, Jaeger. But I think my adrenaline wouldn't let me like feel it. So I was just
Right.
nervous. So I went up and I recited my verbatim speech,
Yeah.
my comedy speech, and it went well. And I won the contest that night. And like one, I got like 1 foot off the stage, and all the Jaeger hit, and I had to work the rest of the night pretty shit faced, and cut my finger really badly throwing the trash out that night, and it scarred. And then that was my souvenir of the first time I did comedy.
Oh, nice.
And then I moved to Chicago a couple months later, not for comedy, just to move to Chicago. And uh, like 6 months after I moved there, a guy got a hold of me about going on a college comedy tour, and he hadn't had a female on the tour, or they hadn't had, because it was his first year managing it, but it was like his third year doing the tour, and they hadn't had a female on the tour for like a decade. So he was originally from Kansas City and then living in Chicago. So he came to Kansas City and like saw some comics, and it wasn't really what he was looking for. So he asked them about people, and they gave him my name. I'd been on stage less than a dozen times, and he came up and he talked to me about it, and then he came out and saw me at an open mic, and he booked me on the tour. And I was supposed to have like 15 solid 100% clean minutes, and I did not. And I remember the night before we left for this tour, like I was giving up my apartment, I was giving up like all my shit in Chicago. And the night before we left on this tour, I was like looking at my material, and I was like trying to write, like furiously write anything funny and clean. And that was like, it was a really rough, because it's just not who I am. It's just not who I've ever been. Not even
Right.
at that time I was 20. The first show for the tour, so the first like real professional show I did, was 3 days before my 21st birthday at Penn State. And I was not ready for it at all. It was very much like boot camp, and my voice shook on stage. Like you could hear it
Yeah.
shaking for the first couple months of the tour. Oh god, it went so bad. I got so many fucking complaints. Like the agency that was booking us got complaints about me constantly.
Oh my god.
Constantly. They fucking hated me. But, I was trying to,
You were working it out.
I was working it out, and I was trying to like fit into a box that was not my box.
Right.
And
Yeah, that's a weird thing to have to do.
yeah.
I try and I just fail miserably at
Yeah.
not using swear words. It's just in my DNA, I think.
Yeah. I know now, like I know better now, and now I'm comfortable just not taking, if it's like, well, you have to work clean, it's like that is not going to be
It's
a show that's
impossible.
good for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like there's some really funny clean comics, and I'm not one of them, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's a whole other skill in
But
its
my life
own.
hasn't been clean, you know?
Right.
Like it would be, for me to work clean would be like, how do you work? I don't know. I mean,
I don't know
it's
either.
like, how do you work clean when you've lived like a dirty life, you know?
Yeah.
It just doesn't, why try to clean it up?
Seem like a lie.
It's not what I liked about about the life I've lived. Is
Right.
not, I liked that it was dirty.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that.
Hmm.
And so then after that, you came back here.
After that, I was still in Chicago. I just got another apartment.
Okay.
Yeah. I was on that college tour the entire year. We would have like weekends here and there that we were off, and if I was close to Kansas City, I'd stay here, or if I was close to Chicago, I'd stay with friends up there. Um, and I stayed in Chicago for 5 years, and I never stopped. Like I never got off the road. I mean, I was like done with the college tour, and then I was on the road for the summer, and then I went on the college tour again the next year, but we had a totally different like group of people, and the road manager the second year was like, the agency that we were working for was like really really shitty. I mean, they were just like, oh, they were such assholes. And the guy that was our manager, our first road manager, had, like I said, he'd been working with them for years, so he was used to it. So the guy the second year was brand new to the agency, and they were shitty to him. And after 6 weeks, he just like quit us all. Like he quit for us all. So so that second year of the tour just lasted 6 weeks.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah.
And
And
everybody was like, screw this.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, it was like, it was real shitty circumstances.
Yeah, and see, like, even back then, they wanted you to work clean on colleges, huh?
Uh-huh.
Which is, like,
Yeah.
crazy to me. College seems like when you see these kids freaking out about being politically correct on college campuses, all I
Yeah.
can think is, like, man, it was, like, not that way at all when I was,
Ye
like,
I always expected, like, and I have always expected colleges to be more open-minded and college kids to be more like down for whatever, but sometimes they just aren't. Like sometimes they're still so young, and they're like, they're still like young and sensitive and scared, like so scared, and they haven't been through shit.
yeah.
Like when you think about someone that goes straight to college from high school. I graduated early and went to college, like, well, I mean, it was community college, and it was just to stay on my parents' insurance. It wasn't like
Yeah.
because I wanted to be there, but I was also like doing a bunch of other shit. But you think about like the average kid going to college, they're like fucking 18 or something.
Yeah.
You don't know shit about yourself when you're 18. You don't know anything, and now you're at college, and now you're away from like your family, and they're still scared.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
still
they're the
scared.
most scared. That's
Yeah.
why they act like that.
Hmm.
They're the most scared out of anyone. When did you like Chicago?
I love Chicago.
I've never been a big fan.
I love Chicago.
People get mad at me for that, but I've been there a
What do you not like
bunch.
about it?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's just like it's always like senselessly violent to me. Like when
Really?
I like the people I knew that lived there, it was always
Oh.
like somebody's always getting shot randomly. It was like a lot of
Mm.
like you know, a lot of like innocent bystanders. It
Oh.
seemed like, which I never
I
dug
had such a
that.
different experience up there.
Yeah,
Like the only real, I think, crime that I was like exposed to, like my car got broken into a couple times.
yeah,
Um, One time, well, this isn't really crime. One time, I think the most disturbing thing I saw in Chicago, I saw a pigeon wrapped in duct tape on the
yeah. That's
sidewalk.
weird.
That was like real disturbing. If you think too much about it and you wonder too much about it, it's not good.
Yeah, I've been a bunch of times going up to like Woodstock to this car
Oh,
show.
yeah.
And it was just always like, as I'd go through Chicago, I'd be like, I don't get it. I don't get the allure. There's like people everywhere. It's like super
Yeah.
cramped. It's like, you know,
Just you can be like very anonymous. You can be very like lost in your own thoughts, and no one's in your fucking business. No one
yeah,
on the street. You can walk down the street and just like do your own thing, and no one's trying to have a conversation with you, which I'm not saying is like a good thing. And I'm not saying if you see me walking down the street, don't have a conversation with
right.
me. But like, I don't know. I think at that time in my life, I don't know. There have been times in my life where the the thought of just like blending in with buildings and just like being one of like 7 million, and just like, you know no one's watching where you're going, not that you're going anywhere bad, but you know it's very, the solitude of it, the isolation has been very appealing to me a few times.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just like
But I always found it to be great. I had the second to last the second to last neighborhood I was living in was Humboldt Park, and back then it was like before it was gentrified, and I had a 2-bedroom apartment for $450. No, just 400. It was $400 for a 2-bedroom apartment. Um, and there was like there was a house next door to me that was like the whole family. It was like it was I don't know what the right way to like a gang family. It was just like the family had been in this gang for. It was
Yeah.
just sort of. Um,
That was
they
their
were
neighborhood.
so fucking nice. They were
Yeah.
so nice to me. They liked me. I felt completely safe. There was um there was like a couple dudes that lived in the building on there was a 4-story building. They were on like the 3rd floor, and also gang, but they were nice and they liked me. We got along. They didn't like the guy that lived across. They didn't like the guy that lived across the little gangway in the building next to us, and the gangway was like really fucking narrow. One time he went out of town. He was a photographer. He went out of town for the weekend, and they put a plank of wood from their window to his, like crawled over the plank of wood into his place, like broke into his place through the window, took a bunch of his shit, like tons of his shit. And when he came back, he called the police, and they came out and they were like, well, we can't really do anything. Can't prove
Yeah.
anything. And he was like his printer was just like in plain sight.
Yeah, it's just in the window across from him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't know. I mean, like, he was an asshole. He was
Yeah.
an asshole to him, but I wasn't, and I felt perfectly fine.
Yeah. No, I just like I like judge places on like if I like the number of people I wave at while driving
Uh huh.
that like wave back and don't think
Oh.
it's weird.
Oh, okay.
In like Florida,
Uh huh.
no one waves back at you.
Oh,
They
really?
get angry. Like when I went to Florida, I went
Uh
to
huh.
Miami and I went to West Palm Beach.
Oh,
And it was just like I hated every second of
yeah.
Florida. I'm not a fan of Florida.
I don't like Florida.
Texas,
I don't
I
like
love
Texas.
Texas. See, I love Texas. Texas,
I liked a couple places in Texas. Like I liked Houston. I thought people were really
Houston's
nice.
tight.
I
Uh,
did not like Dallas. I don't like
Dallas
any
is
of
very
Dallas area.
hustly bustly. It's very big.
Mm-hmm.
Austin was always awesome when I had been there, but it's been everyone's told me it's a lot different now than when I had been there. Uh, Colorado's really nice.
I like Colorado.
Wyoming, where my daughter
Uh
is
huh.
from, uh, it's nice up there. People are decent. There's some weird things, but it's weird. It's a great place to visit. It's not a
Yeah.
place I'd be like, yeah, I'd love to live here.
In Wyoming.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's like desolate.
Mm-hmm.
Like people die from exposure of the elements. Like not great. Not a great place to be. Not a lot going on.
I used to work these clubs in North Dakota, um, Grand Forks and Minot, and I always ended up working them in the winter. And it was when I was living in Chicago, so I'd have to drive, um, like from Chicago to Grand Forks. I usually did Grand Forks first, and then went on to Minot. Um, God, it's so fucking cold. That's all.
Yeah, it's cold as hell up there. I don't even been that far north. I haven't been past Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois.
Uh huh.
I've never been. I have a bunch of friends in Milwaukee, a bunch of friends in Minnesota.
You never been to Minnesota?
Nah, it's always just felt like in my brain, it's like way farther than I want to drive, but in reality, it's like the same distance as going to Colorado.
Yeah.
But I was always going to Colorado because I would go see her in Wyoming, my daughter.
Oh.
So I have a bunch of friends that live there. I went to school in Laramie, Wyoming.
Mm.
I went to an automotive like tech school there, but Wyoming's a weird place. It's a weird vibe. Went to California.
Mhm.
Spent my whole life wanting to go to California.
Yeah.
Like couldn't wait to go to California. Like got there, hated every second of it.
Really?
Hated it.
What part?
I thought it was the biggest shithole. Like
What part?
the whole thing. I went to the whole
Where?
thing. San Francisco was cool. again, San Francisco at that time was I thought was a cool place to visit.
Yeah.
We stayed in like an apartment in Haight Ashbury with
Oh
some
yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
And there's this weird shit that went down there, but like it was okay. And then like I always wanted to be in Los Angeles. I thought
Yeah.
Los Angeles was for me. I thought hot rods. I thought it was all hot rods and sunshine.
Oh.
And we got there. I didn't see one old car the whole time we were there. I was like, this
Oh.
is fucking sucks. Our car broke down.
Mm.
Like then we went to San Diego, and San Diego was okay. But for as like much as people talked about how rock and roll it is out there, like we went in a band
In
and
San
like,
Diego or
like
just in California in general? Oh.
And like
Yeah.
San Francisco was like the most rock and roll out of everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And San Francisco was cool, but like really it's just like I don't know. I think I'm just a Midwesterner as much as I didn't want to admit it. Like I just like humble people that like aren't like just I don't know. It's just again another busy ass city, right? Like
I had a different experience in LA, but I don't know.
I mean, I was there for 24 hours too,
know.
so I guess you can't judge a book by that. But
Yeah.
still, I don't even now. It's just like I don't know. Is all the bullshit worth? Is the what's the cost of like shit you deal with to be in a certain environment, right? Like,
Yeah.
is the sunshine and all that worth the the shit? I don't know.
Worth how hard you have to work to keep
To
it?
stay it, yeah.
Well, I mean, I felt when I came back, it felt like coming home from summer camp and like finding out your dog died while you were gone.
Oh shit!
You know,
What a horrible feeling.
Yeah, but LA was like LA was good for me. LA was like hard,
Yeah.
and but like so much shit happened to me there, so much like monumental, like weird shit happened to me there, and I got to do so much weird shit and live this like amazing fucking life that
Yeah.
I was living, so I wasn't like looking at it and realizing like how fucking weird it was. And I look back at it now and I love it. I love everything I got to experience out there. You know? Even the
Yeah.
horrible shit, there was like a lot of horrible shit, a lot of heartbreak, There was like a devastating like relationship type thing, and I mean a lot of shit happened, but it was I learned a lot, and I really like fucking grew up. Maybe I don't know. Did I grow? That would be very like after school special.
I grew up.
I really grew up. I really matured.
Yeah.
I don't think I did, but I think I just learned a lot more about humanity and just about people, and which has always been like what I've been interested in.
Yeah.
Uh,
Did you just get tired of like how hard it was to stay there?
No. In 2016, my parents were divorced. They'd been divorced for like a long time. But my dad was remarried and living in Tampa, or right outside Tampa. And 2016, God, so April of 2016, he died, and it was very like unexpected, and it was horrible. It was just horrible. I was able to like be there with him. He wasn't conscious, but like he died in Florida, and then we went to Kansas City. We came here for the funeral. He was buried here, and I would always come home, usually like a few times a year, but always during Fringe Festival, because I would always do Fringe shows. For 10 years, I did like a lot of stuff with the Kansas City Fringe Festival. And the last year I did it, or no, not the last year. I guess 2017 was the last year, but 2016, the last year I did it when I was living out of town. I would always come in and stay with my mom, and it would just give me like a chance to just to spend like extended time with her. And I had kind of noticed on previous visits that she was like seemed to be kind of like declining and sort of like would repeat telling me stuff um and I thought I was just being too sensitive about it because I would mention it to other family members and they would just like I would tell my sister and she'd be like, no, she was like not in good health. She had lupus and some other stuff that like put her in chronic pain.
Oh
And
man.
so, yeah, my sister would say like, well, she's in so much pain, it just kind of like fucks with her head, and she might just not remember because she's just like constantly in fucking pain. And so after my dad died, I was back for Fringe a few months later. My dad died, and it just like really like we really flipped everything because we'd gotten we'd always had like a kind of a tumultuous relationship, and then in 2014, I guess it was like 2014, I came back from Fringe, um and like just a few days after I got back, a guy broke in to my place and like assaulted me, and I woke up to it. It was super fucked up.
Yeah.
But my dad like really was like the dad I needed. My dad like that he really like was able to step up and you know, he was just great. He was great. He got me through that. He and my friends, I had to before I moved, I couldn't find a place to move to like right away. Um and so I had to stay in that apartment for a month, and I couldn't stay there alone. So I had friends that would come and stay with me every night. Like they kind of like rotated on a schedule and stuff.
Right.
And my dad was just there for me. My dad was there for me. My like close group of like girlfriends was there for me. Like the girls I worked with at the Jack Shack, everyone was so fucking like around me and kept me safe and kept me okay. And like my dad talked to me. He was never too busy to talk to me for like a few months. Do you have to go?
No, no, no. You're fine.
Okay. Uh, anyway.
I just said it here because occasionally she's upstairs,
Uh huh.
So like we can hear her. Like you guys can't hear her, but you can hear my daughter like walking around or
Yeah.
turning the water on. But sometimes she'll like text me and ask me questions. So I don't like
Oh.
to. I like to at least make it available to where if she needs something, I'm still here.
Sure. Yeah, that's good. You're a good dad.
I try to be. I'm not the best. Like everybody. Like we're definitely. She's just like me.
Uh huh.
So we clash a lot, and we're trying to like figure those things out now.
That's good. Me and my dad were like that. We were very, very similar. Yeah, and can't.
Yeah, we butt heads all the time. It's just what it
we're
is.
Both
but
like
I just
we were
got
both
custody.
like stubborn.
It's all a weird thing.
Yeah.
I got custody of her at 14, and
how old is she now?
She's 14.
Oh.
Well, she just turned 14. I got custody of her in last April.
Oh.
It was a one of those things.
This was a bad decision.
I think all decisions are just it's just terrible. The decision that was made.
I know.
It's neither good nor bad. What is good? That's a question that people ask, and it just depends on your perspective.
Oh, so yeah, sorry. So
no, it's fine.
I was like,
I don't want to.
My dad died, and I noticed that my mom was like declining, and I just like it just didn't seem like a really good idea for her to be as she wasn't alone. My sister lived in Lawrence, but it just seemed like I would have felt better being here.
Right.
So I moved back. I moved back like month and a half after Fringe, and yeah, and I'm glad that I did, for my mom, for like
Right.
getting the last bit of time with her. You know, she went into a nursing home like 2019 or 2020. I can't. 2019. It was 2019, and that sucked. That was like bad. But we should talk about something happier or more fun, maybe.
Oh no,
I
it's
don't want
fine.
to.
It's just real life. It's just
Yeah.
raw shit. I mean, my grandma was in a nursing home for like a little over a year, and she finally passed away. But that was,
Yeah.
it was a while ago. I had a friend
The
pass
nursing
away
home
the
was
other
like real
day.
shit.
Like,
Yeah.
just part of life.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people think I get weird about it. Like, it's fucked up, but like, you know, what's the correct way to like? I don't know. It makes me feel weird because I'm like, am I supposed to put something up on the internet about these people that I know? Like, is that what I do? Like, is that the correct
Yeah.
way? Like, is it okay to just not do that and like think about them in my brain? Is that the correct way? And I get real weird about it because it's also a thing that I know that like it's gonna happen to all of us. And then it's like this weird thing where it's like, yo, what's the then you get into like spirituality and like belief and like what is like what's after, like I don't think it, like, for all the people that are like you just go into the dirt and you're dead, it's like I don't believe that. I mean, there's something else. There's some sort of existential like life force that obviously, even if it's just the subconscious that continues on, like it could just be that, but like,
well, energy can't be destroyed.
right.
Right. I read this thing called Why You Want a Physicist at Your Funeral, and it was like absolutely amazing. And it really goes into that like collective energy, and the energy goes back into the universe and it has to go somewhere. And it's not, because it's not saying that it's like a ghost, and it's not saying that your grandma's watching you jerk off. It's just like the energy has to go somewhere. So it can be really comforting to think about like the physics of death, the physics of dying, and yeah, Why You Want a Physicist to Speak at Your Funeral. Everyone should read it. It's beautiful. Um,
Think about the shame that has been put on people for eons over dead people.
yeah.
If my grandma would do that. If your grandpa could see you, your grandpa can see everything you're doing. Okay, calm down. Like, grandpa was cool as hell. So like, grandpa knows what I'm doing. Like, it's you guys. You're the uncool one, grandma. Like,
I was always really lucky. I didn't have, my family was just the well, the
my
ones that are
grandma, my
dead were
dad's
great.
mom is like
Uh-huh.
Southern Baptist to the core, hellfire, brimstone.
Oh.
You'll go to hell if you keep doing this. You're going to hell. Oh, you got a skull T-shirt on? How could you wear that in my house? Like, we had a pretty wild.
I was raised like sort of Jewish, just like not religious, but
Yeah,
for the heritage thing.
Sort of Jewish.
Sort of, yeah.
Like, you did the Jewish things. You didn't like how people are kind of Christian, right? Like,
sort of.
Like, oh, did we have to go to grandma's on Easter? Yeah. Did everybody but grandpa have to go to Easter service to watch grandma sing in the choir? Yeah. And then I used to get so mad. And finally, when I was like a teenager, it was like, oh, I can just go hang out with grandpa now. I don't have to go to that church. I hate it. Like, I enjoy a church. I do enjoy any, like, not necessarily a specific brand,
Mm-hmm.
but if I can get a positive message out of anything, like out of anyone speaking. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
And so like I do enjoy church, but not hers ever in my life
Oh, yeah.
did I get anything. It was like very shunny, like oh
yeah. Yeah.
you're the bad one, you know. I
What
don't
do
wanna
you
go to a
do?
place
Like,
like
what do
that.
you do on your podcast if your guest has to pee? Like,
Oh.
if your guest just has been drinking water
we
all
just
day.
stop and pee, but also we've been going for. Oh, we're at.
What time is
we've
it?
got like an hour 20 almost. We
Oh,
can-
okay.
Well, we'll just. Well, so when's your next? We'll wrap it up because
Okay.
you'll come back on again for
Okay.
sure.
All right.
When is the next Cult KC?
The next Cult KC is December 27th at the Ship at 8:00. Despite whatever the calendar says, it's 8:00.
Right.
The tickets, they have them on Eventbrite, and you can find it Instagram at Cult KC. And we have merch that's dropping. Listen to me.
Merch.
Yeah, we have merch that's going to drop on Friday. Aaron did that drawing, the Net or Forget. Yeah, we're putting that on shirts.
Oh, cool.
And then we have a couple other shirts that are finally going to go up online, and those will be linked through the link tree on the Instagram. And
they can get to your Instagram from there
yeah,
as well.
no, I don't know. Yeah, it's Susanna Lee Lucky Deluxe. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Are you doing any other shows
probably
in the near future that you know of?
Probably am. I just have been really bad about writing things down. But I'm pretty sure I'm doing some other stuff in the future.
That's fine. I'm going to put all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'll put it all in the description.
Yeah.
But go to the Cult KC thing. And
Yeah.
those of you out there, you know who you are.
If you buy a ticket, you get a free T-shirt.
Yeah, you buy a ticket, you get a free T-shirt. It's $10.
It's $10.
If I'm gonna personally ask to see who asked to be on the guest list for the next show. If you don't just
You don't get a free T-shirt if you get on the guest list, but you can get on the guest list if you don't have
get on the
$10.
guest list,
You can.
JoJo
I understand if you don't have
it's
$10.
$10.
It's okay.
You'll pay $200 to go fucking watch Beyonce from the rafters. You don't pay $10.
$200 would be cheap for Beyonce. I think those tickets were like
that's crazy.
Fucking,
the amount of money people are paying. I paid way too much money to take my daughter to see this rap group called the Suicide Boys.
Oh yeah,
it was like her favorite group, so I was like down for it. But I was still like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
like. And when people were telling me how much Beyonce tickets were, and the people I knew that went,
yeah,
shame on you. You call people colonizers, and you go pay that much money for a concert ticket. I can't.
So if you spent all your money on your
hypocrisy.
Beyonce tickets and you don't have $10 to spend on Cult KC, I'll put you on the guest list. I don't care, but I won't give you a free T-shirt. But you can come. You can come for free.
Spend the $10. Support the cause.
Get a free T-shirt, but
All
also
right.
just come to the show.
Susanna, thank you for coming over.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Thanks for having me on your show.
I'm glad you and Aaron weirdly called me on speakerphone one Tuesday night while you were in.
Oh, that was all Aaron. I was upstairs grabbing something.
My favorite part of
we
that
had been talking
conversation
about you,
was Aaron going, "Is it okay if I smoke ketamine in your car?" And you were like, if you roll the window down, and he's like, "Okay, I don't have any. I'm just asking."
Oh.
I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with him?" All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.